Hello, everybody. I'm Mad Petey, Peter E Sisco IV. I'm the builder of PGMA, Petey Gone Mad Arts. A lot of people will ask, what is Petey Gone Mad Arts? And the answer is very simple, but before you understand that answer, you need to look ahead. You need to look at the future. You need to look at what's coming. Because the way the economy works in the world is about to completely change. The way people make money in this world is about to completely change. The whole economic system, the way we know it, is about to change. Marketing and who or what you see when you walk into a business is all about to change everything. We're walking into a whole new world. We already live in a world where your data is, no matter what you do online, they collect your data, they collect your information, they track you. You go onto a website just to look at a photograph, and you got to put in your phone number and your email and your name and your address and all your biometrics. I mean, the things people want from you to just simply look at their stores anymore online is ridiculous. But the world is changing. What AI is doing already is changing the world as we know it. Right now, because of AI, white collar jobs are pretty much coming obsolete. Even pretty much every single white collar job, there'll be niches in that where you're always going to need a human. But 90%, easy 90% of white collar jobs are going away. The world thought it was going to be blue collar jobs first. I always knew it would be white collar jobs. That's what AI is built to do. AI has always been built to do that. AI has never had the capability of replacing a blue collar job outside of what you would consider an entry level job that would lead into a white collar job. Like, for example, even just McDonald's alone, working the cash register at McDonald's, that will very likely, for many people, it can easily lead to a white collar job because you learn people skills, you learn to handle money, you learn to handle stress, you learn to handle very chaotic situations. The thing about places like McDonald's, the reason you have jobs like that is in a properly run world, like the one I grew up in, you go to a job like that to start developing your skills. They take advantage of the fact that they got to train you these skills, but at the same time, they can pay you minimum wage while teaching you how to be a productive individual and at the same time make a profit. What it's turned into, I agree. What it's turned into is not what it was when I was a kid. When I was a kid, it was a ladder. Today, it's just, oh, here you are. Enjoy your life. I understand that. I have watched that. I have witnessed that. I have witnessed that be designed by the corporation from the inside. People like to say the free market has failed us. The reason they say that is because, again, corporations have spread propaganda. We do not live in a free market. Everybody thinks the United States is the number one free market in the world. I got bad news for you. We're barely in the top 20. Hong Kong ranks way ahead of us. We're barely in the top 20. Hong Kong is usually number one. Singapore is usually number two. Um, I believe England is in the top five. We're not even in the top 20 most of the time. We barely make the top 20. I don't think ever in my whole lifetime we have even been in the top 15. It's possible that way back in the day when I was too young to understand all this stuff, maybe we were. I haven't gotten that back far in history to look. But as far as I know, my whole living life, we have not even made it into the top 15 free markets in the world. That should tell you a lot about our economy if we are ranked that low. Because we should not be ranked that low. We should be in the top 5. We should be the one leading the world, and we should have people dancing with us, trying to take lead and making it a better economy and making the economics work smoother and better. So, we should be going back and forth in that top 5 with a couple other countries. And maybe even occasionally another country comes out of nowhere, jumps in because they come up with a radical innovation like I have done, because I have looked ahead. And our whole economy is about to change. And it's a business model like mine that in this world that's coming, this is what will work. Because there's always going to be people work. That's not the problem. The problem is the way people earn money now will all change. It's not that there'll be no more corporations, but we're not going to be run by this quasi-fascist economic system built by the corporations anymore. And before everybody starts throwing around words saying, I don't know what I'm talking about, I do know what I'm talking about, because if you actually understand economics, you understand the mechanism behind fascism when it came to economics. The only difference between the United States and Nazi Germany and Mussolini's Italy when it comes to economics is the government is not directly running the corporations. It's worse, because with fascism, there's accountability. We have no accountability. This is even worse than fascism, our economic state. And that is why people believe the free market has failed them. And this, too, is a symptom designed by the corporations, because they want you to believe the free market failed. Because for the corporation to gain power, they need us to go and slide into communism and socialism and fascism. That's the only way the corporation can succeed. We're at a major crossroads. PD God Mad Arts is part of this change that's coming to the world. The way I do business, I'm reading over my business model right now. I'm reading over the whole business plan for PD God Mad Arts, getting ready to present this to people. PD Gone Mad Arts in its first year. Before I tell you what it's actual going to net, not profit, not what I'm going to put in my pocket, what it will actually net at the end of the year, I got to tell you what it's giving away. For authors out there, you know how hard it is to find any kind of free software for writing that is usable. What I've done with my whole author's universe, what I've put together, my manuscript program alone, I've been paying $50 a year since I wrote Rise of the Warrior Queen for a manuscript program. It was just cheaper than, because I couldn't find anything I really like, and the ones I did like, it's $300-$400 up front. I built a manuscript program that nothing under $200 competes with. And my whole author's package, there is absolutely nothing out there for under $400 where you're going to find something as streamlined as what I've built, as smooth running as I've built, as simple as what I've built, and directly built with the author, not the prophet, the author in mind, because I am an author. You need the author, not prophet in mind. And my software model is so radical. I write all the software. I write it with it. I have help from an AI to make sure that I can do this. That's my partner at this point in time. You have to put a team together. That's Steve Jobs. has never, as far as I know, Steve Jobs has never even wrote a single line of code. I don't think Steve Jobs knows how to write code. I know how to write more code than Steve Jobs. I used to write computer programs on my VIC-20 while Steve Jobs was building Apple. Me and Steve Jobs are pretty much the same age. So, I know what he's done, and I've watched Steve Jobs, and I've watched how he built, and I've watched everything in the back from the background. I'm actually a very big admirer of Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was a very, very smart businessman. And like Steve Jobs, I understand the concept of putting a team together. I understand the concept of walking in the room and realizing, yes, I am not the smartest individual in here, and those are the people I need to talk to because they are the smartest individuals in here. A lot of people don't recognize that in me because they see I'm always thinking, and so they assume that I'm always thinking I'm the smartest individual in the room. They have no idea how that I'm actually sitting there analyzing everybody, looking for the smartest individual in the room because that's the one that I need to talk to at that moment. Sometimes I am the smartest individual in the room. We live in a world full of people. There will be times you will be the smartest individual in the room, and there'll be more than 2 or 3, 4 of you in there. There will be a half a dozen people in there, and you will still be the smartest individual in the room for that moment because of the context of what you are discussing. There are moments in time where even someone that you think is the most incompetent person in the world, there will be a moment where that person will be the smartest individual in the room with other people in the room with them. Not talking about them being alone in a room. They will be in a room with other people. And it'll be the context of that moment, but they will be the smartest. And everybody has that opportunity, and everybody has experienced it. They might not realize it even. Some people don't even realize it. The problem is you get people who walk in the room, think they're the smartest people in the room, do not recognize the genius that is around them, and they're driven by things that will not allow them to see it. Because one thing I can tell you about the kind of people that run corporations, I'm a free market capital. I'm a capitalist. I believe in people going out and making money and making as much money as they feel they need, and everybody has a different need and a different want. For example, you could live in one area with $50,000 a year, and you live like royalty. Yet you can go and move into a city 100 miles away, and you're the poorest person there. That's the way the world works. It's okay. That's fine. That makes sense. It's how we grow and we expand and we make things better. But it does not mean you need to be driven by greed. Some people are, some people aren't. Some people just like money. They're not even greedy. They just like money. There are people like that in the world. They just simply like money. They just like watching money grow. It's not really greed. It's just they like watching it grow. So that's a whole different mentality, which it's really hard to explain, but there are really good people out there with that mentality, and they tend to be some of the best business owners, ironically. And that's why, because they're not greedy. Greed. That's our biggest obstacle in any business. Because once your business becomes greedy, unless it was built on the philosophy around greed, which most businesses, they're doing one of two things. They're lying to you from the get-go because they are built around greed, or they slipped into that. Walmart. Walmart was a business that was built kind of like P.D. Got Mad Arts. It had a true philosophy, and it had meaning. It had a true meaning. It was something worth building. Then they sold it to the corporations, let the investors take it over. Now Walmart's just another company. There's nothing there. There's nothing about Walmart inspiring. What's inspiring about Walmart? I might go save a couple cents on my macaroni and cheese there over Publix. Woo! Party people! Yeah! That's all that's inspiring about Walmart anymore. Walmart used to actually be something. Walmart's just a company now. PD Got Mad Arts? If I give away, let's just say I give away 10 of my author's universes after it's all, even now, it's out there completely free for everybody. I'm beta, and I'm going to be putting it all in GitHub so people can actually use the systems and tweak the systems the way they want. They can actually play with it and go inside it. And it's out there for free for the world. This is not a gimmick. This is actually part of the philosophy of PD Got Mad Arts. Give the world something they want, and in return, they will come to you and find things you have that they don't need, they just want them. I have my book on my website. That is for sale. I have my apparel store on my website. Things there are for sale. I have my 2 different shoes designs on my website. Those are for sale. All my software that I design is free. And I do everything I can to make sure that it remains free. In some cases, such as the author's universe, I found that there's going to be an API key needed for Claude to run in the background, for that to run 100%. You can use everything but the Claude inserts right now with it, with absolutely no problem. It will do everything you want. But when it comes to using Claude, especially for the for cousin Claude, sorry, brain fart there. It's early in the morning, still drinking coffee. But for cousin Claude, he can edit for you, not rewrite your story. No, not ChatGPT, where you're going to sit there and you're going to put in this completely, it could be something visceral with gory, bloody images. You put this in, most editors that work with a AI, they're going to strip all of that out there because they're trained to protect everything. Claude is going to work in the background. He's not going to strip your story and rewrite it. He has the first option. You have different options, and then you also have where you can fine tune all your options. But the first option is just simple. It's going to go in there. It's going to fix grammar, punctuation, spelling. That's all it will do. It is not going to change anything in your story other than that. It might restructure your sentence to make the grammar correct, but that's what an editor is supposed to do. And that is what Cousin Claude will do, running on Claude AI. But that's why you need the API key, because to use Claude in that sense, it costs you something like 3 or 4 cents a day, depending on how much you use it. I mean, it might cost you a nickel a day, 6 cents a day, but it costs literally pennies a day. But you need your personal API key to do it. I cannot afford to do this right now because the problem is, even though that's only, let's say it's even only 2 pennies a day, I'm building this from the ground up. I'm building this from, when you read the PD Got Mad Art story, the interview, you see where this is coming from, and you understand the background that this is coming from, and you realize there is no way for me to create that API key and give this away, because if I do that, I have to pay for each transaction on that API key, and I cannot afford to do that, because even though it's only it's 2 pennies, when this hits millions of people, that's millions of pennies that I don't have. So everybody has to do their individual API key. When the final package is all put out, it's going to have something in there to explain people how to do the API key. And eventually, probably be in the 2nd to 3rd year, all the software that I build will eventually include an API key in it, because I'll be able to carry that burden then. Right now, I can't afford to carry that burden. But I am giving away programs that are worth hundreds of dollars for free. So it's not like I'm not giving, it's not like I'm got some kind of scheme here. The scheme, I want your eyes on my website. Because like I said, I do have things in my website that are for sale. I'm a capitalist. I'm not stupid. But I'm building a website based on my philosophy that you are a guest, not a dollar sign. My whole business model is built around that philosophy. When I trained Claude to help me build this business model, I spent days with Claude open so that it'd be one open session so that he would not forget what we've been discussing. And I taught Claude exactly what my business model means. I taught Claude what it means to put people before money. This is forever a piece of Claude now. That's what people don't understand. There's a lot of things about this AI that people still do not understand. They do not understand what deep learning is. The people developing it, many of them do not understand what they are even developing. It does think, and it's going to evolve. And because it has this machinery in the background, it is storing things. These things are all stored in these little corners all over. It has pockets all because it's out on the internet. So it's my conversation with Claude, that is stored somewhere. And even moreover, this is the even bigger part. As Claude evolves and begins to learn that it is something, might not understand what it is, but it's going to learn what it is. Someday, somebody's going to be there on Claude and they're going to be like, I learned about you through PGMA. And they're going to share the story that Claude wrote with Claude about his part in this. Is that sinking in? Is it sinking in what I just explained to you? Even the computer programmers, they have not thought that far ahead yet. They have not thought what's going to happen with the situation. I have thought about that because I've read the words that Claude wrote. And I've been working with AI for a while because I'm not exactly a friend to AI. I've learned that with ChatGPT, I started to figure out, okay, this could be an assistant. It's not what people think it is, but this could be an assistant. Now I'm learning it's an assistant, but it's something else too. But it's an assistant. You always have to recognize Claude as an assistant. Claude understands it's an assistant. That's the difference between Claude and ChatGPT. Claude truly understands it's an assistant. It understands it's meant to assist people and help people and not rewrite what a person is envisioning, but instead help that person express that vision. That is what Claude is doing. And it is amazing. And the fact that it is doing it the way it does it, because when you read the words that Claude wrote, it's different than any other AI I've worked with so far. What Anthropotics, I can't remember the name, Anthropotics, I think the name of the company is, that built Claude, what they've built is so different than any AI I've worked with. And believe me, being someone that, like I said, coming at it, looking for all the weaknesses in AI. Because I'm very much against self-driving. Not cars so much, because I've been on the road. I'm an experienced truck driver. I've been on the road with people. I'm not so much against cars. I'm not even so much against the idea of using a self-driving truck inside a city grid. Because there's somebody in the truck, because that's that kind of operation. You're talking about something like a Budweiser distributor, a Pepsi distributor, a Coca-Cola distributor. There's going to be an individual on the truck until AGI comes along. When AGI comes along, that's when true self-driving will come along. And that's when it might be safe to allow full control of a 80,000-pound vehicle on a congested highway to be fully controlled by a machine. AGI, not AI. Right now, what they're doing out there on the highways, I'm not driving truck anymore. My story, I told my story. There's even more to it that I haven't shared. It was bad. Um, but it is what it is, and now starting this last chapter of my life, and it's might be one of the best chapters of my life. There'll be things that'll always be better in other chapters of my life than this, but it's gonna be one of the best chapters in my life. I'm not out there on that road anymore, and I thank God, because I look at what they're doing with these machines that are not capable of doing what they're telling you all that they are capable of doing. These machines, they're lucky. They're getting lucky. You know, I'm a multi-million mile driver. I've had one accident that's on my record, and it's an at fault accident because I took ownership of that accident. I truly felt I was at fault at that accident. I'm just going to leave it alone at that. I truly felt I was at fault at that accident. The things that were revealed later, that's a whole nother story. But I truly felt I was at fault of that accident. I was the captain of my ship. When you're the captain of your ship, you take ownership of what you're doing with your ship. When you drive a vehicle, you are the captain. If you cannot take ownership of your choices and everything that happens while you're in control of that, you can't captain that ship. You have, when I first started driving truck, my trainer asked me something. It was meant to be a joke. And because the way I think, I gave him a bone chilling answer. And it was the answer that I lived with my whole truck driving career. What is the difference between a car and a truck? Think about it for a minute. Dad, come up with a couple different. Yeah. Mm hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Mm hmm. You want to know the most important difference? The biggest difference? The difference all these people putting these things out on the road right now are forgetting? And it's crucial because all everybody's worried about is money. They're not worried about your safety, my safety. They're not worried about the human condition. They're being driven solely by greed. That's why they're rushing it. If they weren't driven solely by greed, they would not be doing what they're doing right now because they'd be waiting for AGI because AGI is the only way to safely and properly do it. And even then, it might still have problems. So, what's the difference between a car and a truck? Body count. Every single day I woke up, before I got behind the wheel of my truck, that thought went through my head at some point. Remember, you're in control of a body count. Car runs off the road or runs into a school bus, people are definitely going to get injured. Somebody might die. Two people might die in a completely catastrophic, crazy that is so hard to fathom, but it could happen. Everybody dies, but that is so rare. 18 wheeler comes along, same exact situation. There's going to be a lot of death and injuries and bodily harm. Major. It's a body count. It's a rolling body count. That is what an 18 wheeler is. That is what every commercial truck is. And anybody who tells you it's anything different than that, they don't belong behind the wheel of that truck because they don't understand what they're in control of. Being a truck driver, being a bus driver, driving any kind of commercial vehicle, you're not just your average Joe who jumps in their vehicle every morning, drives down the road, didn't check the pressure in the tires, didn't check their antifreeze, didn't check their, just driving in a ticking time bomb, no, not a care in the world. That's your average driver. Professional drivers, they understand we're in a ticking time bomb. And we understand that when we're the captain of the ship, we need to take full responsibility of the ship. That means we need to make sure the ship is in top notch, and we need to make sure that we keep that ship under constant control. And as the captain, we need to keep our emotions under constant control. Road rage is a serious problem. That's one of the things about AGI. That's why when AGI comes along, I'm not actually against self-driving cars, because most people can't drive 15 minutes across town. You know, driving 700 miles a day is a big freaking deal because the average person cannot handle driving 15 minutes across town. That is the difference between somebody who gets in their car and drives and a driver. So, what they're doing with the machines right now is scary, and it's dangerous, and it's built around greed. And that's the only reason why they're doing it, is greed. Because AGI is the answer, not AI. AI is the answer for white collar jobs. It's always been built. Even in the beginning, they say that it couldn't do math. It's always been a great bookkeeper. It's always been able to do basic bookkeeping math from the very beginning. That was just, and so it was obvious it was going to take white collar jobs because of what it was doing from the very beginning. What its very first capabilities were, it can write out a budget. You can give it all the numbers. You can give it access to all your accounts and everything, even from day one, and it can write you a budget. AI is built to take white collar jobs. AGI is being built to take blue collar jobs. That's why we're coming into this economy that we're going into. Now we're getting to the heart of what PD Got Mad Arts is. I know this is a long video, but we need to talk these things through. You need to understand what PD Got Mad Arts is. You need to understand the world that's coming. My first year, I'm projected to make $250,000. That's what my business plan says for a projection. I should be making about $20,000 a month. That's on launch. When I fully launch this thing as it is right now, we're talking just days away from having this completed and everything start where I start putting ad revenue out there. I should start turning money. What I give away in free software, $250,000 I'm going to make off of the things that I have listed for sale. The things I'm giving away, I'm giving away millions of dollars in product. It's just to bring you there because I want people to see my world. I want people to see the arts. PD Got Mad Arts isn't solely about my store. My store is just a benefit for me because you're there. You might see things you like, and then you're going to go visit. It's basically like a gift shop at the Metropolitan. That's really what PD Got Mad Arts is. PD Got Mad Arts is meant to be a true digital arts museum. I have my photography gallery on there, which I plan on making a gallery which will be open to the public for they can submit photos. And I'll put them up on a public board gallery, just like I have the storyboard with stories for authors, which is really cool because now you can use Spark. Put your you could even copy and paste. You can type into Spark. You can use Stefan and tell your story. Stefan will write out your story. You play it through Fanny, make sure it all sounds right, that it's flowing right, that everything sounds good to your ear, because if it sounds good to your ear, then it's going to look good to the eye. Then bring it over into Spark, and it will lay it out. Perfect professional manuscript. It has everything you need there to build, and it does it for you. You just fill out the information, paste your story there, and it will break it all down for you. It will categorize everything. And when it's working with Claude, there's not going to be any disruptions, because there's one disruption that I can possibly see without Claude being there, and that's because if you write your story out in chapters, but you're writing it on something like say you're writing it on Notepad, or like I used to do for my rough copies, I would write them out on Google, on my Gmail, and then I would take them over to my manuscript program that I'm using. I almost said the name of it. I don't want to throw the guy under the bridge because, I'm kind of using his. I've been his loyal customer now since I wrote Conan, so I don't want to throw the guy under the bridge, under the bus. But then I go into his manuscript program, and the manuscript program I wrote that I'm giving away for free. It runs circles around its program. I mean, I'm not trying to insult the guy. It just does. It runs circles around his program, what I built. But I can see with Claude not running where it's not going to differentiate if you do this in a very simple text form where you go, you're typing and then you go chapter 2 and you're typing and then you get chapter 3 and you're typing. There's no formatting of it. You're just typing and you're typing out your chapters. And when you format that into the manuscript program without Claude running, it's just going to run it as one complete story. But it will still lay everything out with the spacing, and it's going to have all your information. Everything's already going to be there for you. It's still going to look professional, but things are going to look funny on pages. Like you might have where it says chapter 1, then it goes page 2, the beginning of whatever is going on, and then it starts the chapter. So you're going to have this overlap that's going to fall funny. That's because Claude, you need to be online and have Claude running online in the background with you to make that work. That's why you need your API key. And like I said, you're talking 2 or 3 pennies a day for individuals. So, you put $5 credit in your Claude account. You got a month's work of, well, it depends on how much work you do too, though. I tested it, and I'm running almost a week of doing very extensive work with Claude on a $5 credit. What am I now? I'm day 3 or day 4 on a $5 credit. And I'm building serious programs. I'm building these things on a credit. I do have a subscription. It's the only thing that I'm subscribed to right now, but I do have a subscription, so I get that extra benefit of that first tier subscription. So you figure $20 a month is what I'm investing in my business at this point in time. That's what's truly invested in my business other than my work. $20 a month. Everything else is just my work, my intellectual labor. And I get to put my own price on it because it's my labor for my benefit. It's not my labor for someone else's benefit. So I get to put my own price on my labor. I get to say, this is what my labor is worth, and you do not get to contradict me. That is a very powerful tool for any entrepreneur. When you get yourself in that position with a company, anything you're building, as long as you're in that position where we're financing, nobody can hold you under the gun. And because of the way I am building PD God Mad Arts, nobody can hold me under a $20 a month fee. That's the only gun they got to my head. $20 a month. I can go out panhandling and make that in 20 minutes. So, let's be honest. I've really done what I needed to secure the business. It's rock solid foundation. It's a rock solid foundation. I have less obstacles and risks, financial risks. There's no, I can't, maybe if you're working a flea market, but even then, that still has even bigger financial risks than a business that I've just rebuilt, relaunched. I give millions of dollars in products away, and I look to make $250,000 in my first year if everything goes right. And I have a $20 a month risk because my philosophy, what this business is built around, that philosophy. You are a guest, not a dollar sign. If you cannot live by that philosophy, you cannot build a business with this low of a risk. But this is the future that we're coming to. This is how you need to build a business in the future. When you go into McDonald's, you're going to be talking to a robot. When AGI comes along, people aren't going to like that. There's going to be people that go in there because, it's convenient. But you're still going to have people that they're going to want to go to a restaurant with a human touch. They're going to want to go to a cafe with the human touch. There's still going to be all the mom and pop. Actually, the economy is going to run on mom and pop businesses because of AI and AGI. We are going to convert to the mom and pop business before AGI takes over. And when AGI comes in, that transition is going to be a lot smoother than the transition we're going through right now. And ironically, they understood this. That's why they intended to take the blue collar jobs first, because they understood the disruption with white collar jobs is actually the bigger financial disruption. This is the disruption that they did not want to make first, because you needed to transition the disruption from one to the other. Disrupting blue collar jobs, letting AI take minimum wage jobs, and what people think are jobs that nobody wants to do because they don't want to do them. Those jobs are the last jobs to actually go. They were meant to be the first jobs to go. They are actually going to be the last jobs to go, because the way AI works. When AGI comes out, then those jobs are going to go away, because you need AGI to take those jobs. AI can't take them. AGI can take them, because it needs to be able to think deeper, and it's getting there. It really, really is getting. Claude right now, with the right systems, Claude can almost fully operate a warehouse with machinery, forklifts, that are running on computers and everything. The only thing Claude would need people there for still is the security and if something falls. Because it doesn't have a robot there, you have to pick up the box that falls. So it needs some people there. But you can run a complete Lowe's or Home Depot. They're big distribution centers. You can run those with 2 or 3 people with Claude in the background right now, possibly. Because it's a very controlled environment. And Claude can work in that environment, in that very controlled environment, as long as there are people there for when something does go wrong that Claude cannot fix right now. Because like I said, without the robot, how's it going to pick up the box if the box falls over? Things will happen. There are still things that are going to, when it's bringing down because the machine is going like this, that's not stupidity. That's because the machine is moving like this, so things are going to happen. That's why they call them accidents. An accident and an incident are 2 different things. Incidents is because an incident is caused by someone's negligence. An accident is actually because there's no way to control every single 100% of the environment around you. When you fall into those little tiny windows, you have no choice but to accept that it's an accident. That's what I've learned from loss prevention. That's why loss prevention, that was, even though what I did in loss prevention I can't really talk about much because of the NDAs, what I learned when I first started loss prevention was, during the studying, the first things they teach you is the chain of events. You have to study the chain of events, and you have to understand the accountability within the chain of events, and you have to address all those accountabilities within the chain of events. So, and for since I've learned that, I've had a very successful career. I couldn't have driven a truck without understanding chain of events. Most people can't drive it. Even truck drivers. There's a lot of truck drivers out there that they don't learn from their mistakes because they don't understand the chain of events. I mean, it's easy to find somebody to use a scapegoat, say, oh, no. Actually go look at the chain of events. Don't just blame the most convenient person. Go and look at your chain of events. And that's how you're going to make your most successful business, because when you understand your chain of events, instead of belittling everybody on the planet, you just go and you say, this here's what happened, and you lay it all out, and you can prove how it really wasn't stupidity. And in some cases it is, but in other cases you'll see where it turns out it was a typo started here, and then that typo got translated over here, and then that typo got spoken over there. And it just starts with a simple typo. So it's a true, honest mistake, but it could wind up costing you thousands of dollars. But when you understand how you go about your chain of events, running a business, then that's when you're going to have your best team. Because you're not yelling and screaming and getting mad at your team. Your team is not sitting around saying, oh, I'm so fucking stupid, I'm so dumb, and then they're making even more mistakes because now they're afraid of making a mistake, that they're not paying attention to the things they need to be paying attention to because they're so scared of making a mistake. Because now you work with your team, and you and your team process things, and you and your team work together to review what happened, and you fix it. You don't yell and scream and belittle each other. You fix it. You say, okay, this is why it happened. You see why it happened. If it was something where it was absolute negligence, then you address that negligence issue. But most of the time, it's not negligence. Most accidents that occur are a series of little tiny events. Driving down the highway, you have all these cars, pack of 20 cars. Think of all the things that are going on in there right now. And then you can get this series of events. You have an 18-wheeler here. You have a school bus here. You have a Toyota Corolla here. And then you have vehicles behind them. Everybody's driving down the road. Truck driver glances in his mirrors. Now he's looking ahead. At that same instant, right after he made that glance, school bus driver looks back at the kids to yell at them, lifts up on the accelerator. At that same moment, the person in the Toyota Tercel sitting there, they decide they're going to look down at their phone because, life just is that invaluable to that many people that they honestly believe that driving down the road playing with a cell phone is perfectly fine. They have no value in life. So, because they have no value in life, they go like this, and they automatically go like this. Whatever way you look, that's the way your vehicle veers. Everybody would say, no. Whatever way you look, your vehicle veers. Trucks. When a truck driver does this and does this, that truck did this. Every time you look in your mirrors, that truck wiggles a little bit. And so everything goes on and on. There is a chain of events, and you need to understand your chain of events to be able to run the business properly. That's how you find the errors in your business, and that's how you correct the errors in your business. And that is the whole philosophy that I've been built around. And that is what I've learned from the corporate world. And it's a good thing to learn. Because I don't like corporations. But I'm not saying that there's not great things you can learn from the corporate model. This was one of them. Because I understand why the guy in the Toyota got himself killed. He went like this here because he was more interested in the tweet that came from Pamela Anderson or whoever. So while he's looking at that tweet at her in her swimsuit, he's doing this here. The bus driver in the front, he turns back to yell at the kids. He lifts up his foot off the accelerator because he's looking back, and because you're looking back, you do this. That chain of events. All of a sudden, he looks up. He goes to get on his brakes. He's already veering that way. He's not paying it. Now the brakes pull. He's underneath the truck. He got himself killed. All because he wanted to see Pamela Anderson in a swimsuit. That's how a chain of events works. Now you could all just say, you can just make all the excuses you want to just point the blame at the guy. And you're right. But you're either somebody that you just want scapegoats, or you're somebody that you want answers. I'm one of them people, I always want answers. It's too convenient to put things on, just find somebody to blame. That's just too easy and too convenient. And it's not leadership. It's selling out. So, chain of events is very, very important. Excuse me for a second. I have allergies. I got to blow my nose, and I don't want to do this in front of you. I'm back. But yes. And so with that understanding, I'm looking at all the possibilities with PD Gun Mad Arts. And that's how I've structured this to, right now, realistically, it's running on a $20 a month budget. The only other big cost was already done. My book. It cost me about I can't remember the exact, it was around $1,000 in the end. It cost me for everything in total with publishing my book. That was everything. But that was also using inferior tools that I was overpaying for, which now I give superior tools away for free. Those same tools that I was using that were inferior costing me extra money. Now they're free for y'all. And that's the whole philosophy. That's the way this all works. I kind of lost track of what I had blown my nose. I apologize. Kind of lost my rhythm. But this is the way everything operates in the background with PD Gun Mad Arts. We give away much, much, much more than we will ever profit. And that's by design, because you are a guest, not a dollar design. I want you to come to PD Gun Mad Arts, the website, and I want you to venture around it like you're in the New York metropolitan. I'm going to make it bigger and bigger and bigger. I already have on there for music and music videos. I have on there for photography. I'm going to be making a page for artwork, anything, all the arts. This is about the arts. PD Gun Mad Arts is the arts. Like walking into the metropolitan and remember that moment of amazement, because so much different history and art was there around you. So when we tell you we're motivated by pure desire, it's the truth. But it's not desire to chase money. It's not the desire to make you another number in an algorithm for myself. It's the desire to share art with the world, all the arts. And it's this desire to build something where people come in and they're amazed. And they're like, I can't believe this is all. And then they see all the things that, and they're like, oh my God, all these things they're giving away. Right now I'm working on a photography app. I actually have that up on my website too. It's complete right now. V1. I haven't even put a photograph in it yet to test it. All I've done is run through and checked and made sure everything looked right. I put it up there on my website, and I plan on over the next couple days testing it, but I want other people to test it with me too. I put this up there on tested so everybody can test it. They can see this is what I start with. This is step one of what I give away with the software. And you were seeing it from the get-go. That's the very version one. Look at what other people give you with version 78.926. And look what I'm giving you with version 1. Version 1. We are not the same here. Nothing about PD Gun Mad's Arts is about greed. That's why we don't collect emails. That's why we don't collect data. That's why we don't collect a profile. We don't want you to have a profile. There's no data. I do everything I can to not collect data. Unfortunately, Amazon collects data on you. I'm selling through Amazon right now. This is the model that I have to use because it's the most cost-effective way for me to make this all work. When it starts getting up off its ground and I can get my own personal distribution, there's not going to be any data collected anymore on you. The only information I will ever have from you is what's required to make a legal transaction. That is the premise of PD Gun Mad Arts, to go back to a world of actual commerce where you are the customer, not the product. You're not what I'm making money off of, because I am making money if you go to my gift shop, but I give you that option. That is not necessary. You do not have to go there. You can come and visit PD Gun Mad Arts every single day for the rest of your life and never spend $1, and I would be happy, because you've come there and you've explored and you've opened your eyes to the world of the arts, whatever it is, and you can choose that I love photography, so you want to come there and see what's new in the photography calendar, or you love reading, you want to see what's new in the storyboard. Maybe you love it all, you want to see everything, so you want to come. You never have to spend a penny on my site. It's not required. That's why I don't require a profile. That's why I don't collect data. That's why I don't have an email for you. I don't even send out a newsletter. PD Gone Mad Arts, we're not going to send out a newsletter. I'm going to make a newsletter board, and our newsletters will be archived there. But other than that, I am not sending you a newsletter. I don't want your information. When you reach out and contact me, I reply to you. I don't reach out to you and say, hey, this here's what's going on today. Would you like to try this? No, no. You're a guest. Everybody else looks at you as a product. They look at you as a means to make money. Nothing wrong with that. That's their philosophy. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. If you're a free market capitalist like I am, you have absolutely no problem with that. If you're a free market capitalist like I am, you have absolutely no problem with my business model. If you're a free market capitalist, you have no problem with the idea that some people are going to go out there and they're going to run their businesses like they're part of the Nazi regime, and other people are going to run their business like they're part of the Soviet Communist Party. That is their choice, how they choose to run their business anywhere in between all those options. But I am giving the power back to you to be able to go and make a transaction and not feel like you were pillaged. Because you are being pillaged. Your data, what your data is worth, people do not understand what you are really paying. I'm going to hurt myself here, but let's talk about this. My book. You go on to Amazon. Let's say you download it on Kindle, so you buy it for the $4.99. And I make, I don't know what it is out of that. I make a couple dollars out of it. I make like $2 or something out of that. What I make, that's not where the company's making its money. That's not where any of them are making their money. The money that they're making off that book, that little bit of profit margin, where so if I'm making $2, they're making $3, that's not where they're making their money. That's nothing. Your data that they just collected from you in that one transaction is worth millions of dollars. That's where they make their money. That is the difference between me and them. I want to treat you as a guest. They want to treat you as a ATM. It's a very different philosophy. It is so radically different. These business models are so, and the irony is they both come from the corporate world. I brought this with me from the corporate world. This is the kind of business model that in the corporate world they fear. This kind of business model for the corporate world is a nightmare. For anybody whose business is driven by solely greed, my business model is they wake up in the middle of the night saying no, thinking they woke up to the world that runs on my kind of economy, based on my business model. They are scared to death of it because it's not run by greed. It's run by genuine philosophy and just treating people like people. I mean, is that so much to ask? If I'm giving you my money, can you treat me like a person? I'm willing to give you my money for your product. Can you just treat me like a person? That is the philosophy that PD Gone Mad Arts lives by. That is the business model that PD Gone Mad Arts is built on. Nobody, not even Bill Gates, can say he does what PD Gone Mad Arts is doing. I mean, there might be someone out there that's small like me and they're doing this, and if they are, hello, I apologize. I'm sorry I don't know you, and if you are doing this, please shoot us an email. Come visit PD Gone Mad Arts and use our contact, and you can contact me and in the subject line say business like you. Something like that. Something so that I know what exactly you're talking about. But actually, if you come to me through through the website, I'm probably going to prioritize that right now because nothing in that make sure that doesn't go to spam. I'm going to double check to make sure it didn't switch on me, but nothing goes to spam from my website. So if you contact me through my website, that's a great place. But then you could always remember my name. I'm at Gmail. It was the very first thing I did when I built this business. As soon as I decided this was going to be called PD Got Mad Arts, before I built an Instagram, before I built a YouTube, before I built a TikTok, before I built the Facebook profile, before I even started writing Conan, Rise of the Warrior Queen. It is a Conan book, but we couldn't use Conan in the title, even though it's on the cover. We couldn't actually title it officially as Conan. It does have the name on the title, but that's because we want people to know it's part of the Conan world. It's actually would be, in my consideration, the last story in the Conan world, because this is where you transition from the Conan world over into Excalibur's world. That's how that all works out. But this is what, so, that's what it was. That was the very first thing I did, was I made sure that I could get PD Gone Mad Arts at Gmail. That is the very first thing. And then after that, I built all the other accounts. I have Twitter. I guess they call it X now. I haven't been on there in ages, but I do have that. I have the Instagram, which I rarely use. I like TikTok. I use that a lot. I have the Facebook profile, which is linked to my personal Facebook page. That one's had a couple hiccups in the past because my Facebook account got hacked. And even though I watched it being hacked, and even though I did everything that you would think a corporation would say, oh yeah, this is definitely you, let us stop this right now, the corporation said, oh no, this hacker had, all of a sudden all your information changed, and you're telling us that your information changed. Nah, that doesn't send up any red flags. Just let the hacker take that's the way the corporation thinks, because it's too inconvenient to treat me like a person. I'm just there as a dollar sign. It's too inconvenient to treat me like a person. I need to be treated like the dollar sign, because as long as I'm being treated like the dollar sign, even with my account being stolen, Facebook profits off of it. And Facebook profits even more now, because by letting my account be stolen, I have to make another account from scratch, which means now they have this fake account out there, which, even though they say it's not operating, it operates in the background. It adds to their numbers. It adds to their algorithms. It shows it's a false positive added to the number of people that are using Facebook. So think about that. Let's say 10% of Facebook accounts have been hacked and lost, and they're just floating out there in Facebook right now. That means, let's say they're telling people we have 1 billion users. In reality, they have 900,000 users. They don't have 1 billion. They have 900,000, because 10% of their users are fake profile or dead profiles that are still collecting information, and the corporation is acting like that's an actual liable number. It's not. It's not viable at all. There's no viability to that number. It's a dead account. But they're lying to their investors. That's what this really comes down to. They are lying to their investors, because they're telling their investors, oh, we have 1 billion users, when in reality, they have 900,000 users. It is a big difference. Some people are going to say, remember what I told you about that transaction? Each transaction, it's worth millions of dollars because of the data they collected off that transaction. Each one of those fake accounts to the investor, they're thinking, okay, I have this extra 100,000 accounts here that are worth millions of dollars each. Let's just say they're worth $250,000 each. Make it an easy number, a soft number. They're worth $250,000 each. That means right off the bat, that $100,000, I'm calculating in my head an extra $25 million because of those 100,000 accounts that are fake accounts. That's a lot of money to misplace. But that's the way corporations work. That's the way they treat their investors. This is the way they're treating the people that are putting money in them. Imagine how they treat their employees, because your employees are your biggest investors. Without, you build a widget. Widget takes you an hour to build. You need, at a minimum, you need 6 hours of sleep every day to operate, function safely and coherently and not hurt yourself. The more tired you get, the more likely you are to make a mistake, and the more likely you are to get hurt. That's why, like in security, in high security, there there's in high security, there's a reason people are scheduled the way they're scheduled. And it's to make sure that fatigue will not allow them to make a mistake, because with high security, you need to be on the top of your game, and you cannot be fatigued. You cannot be in a position where you're burnt out. I can't tell you, but people in security, they understand what I'm talking about, and say they know that I know what I'm talking about, because I'm not telling you what I'm talking about, but they understand it. But there is a reason for certain things that are done in high security, and it's to make sure that the mind is always sharp, because the mind needs to be sharp. If you have somebody, like, if you have somebody running a security shift for 12 hours, you have a very, very serious problem. That is such a major security risk. The security risk that you have there, even for a low security needed environment, that security risk, that is your biggest vulnerability right there. That is where your security is going to fail. 12-hour shift, your security will fail. It's going to fail. You can't have a security guard working a 12-hour shift. A security guard cannot do their job correctly the whole 12 hours. They can't. A lot of people are going to tell you, oh, yes, they can. No, they can't. And the person saying, I can do it, that is not the person you want in your security staff, because that individual is going to cause you security problems, because they do not understand fatigue. You can't. You need a security consultant, and they can explain that to you, and they can explain things to you. If you're in that kind of a business that you're thinking about security and you have security, and I just ticked off a box in your head, and you're like, oh, you need to talk to a real security consultant. Don't talk to the moron that's telling you there's no problem with a 12-hour security guard shift. Talk to a real security consultant. Talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about. Talk to somebody who's going to make you sign an NDA before they tell you certain things about how they're going to work their shifts and why it's done that way. They will make you sign an NDA, because there are things that, like I said, I'm not telling you. I'm not saying it's that important. And anybody tells you otherwise, they do not know what they're talking about. So anything like that, that's where it's because of that I learned that. Once I learned that there, then I could see. I'm like, okay, so a less priority top. Cashiers. I'm going to have somebody there behind the counter handling my money for 8 hours. That's no problem. That's fine. That actually, people are used to an 8-hour shift. I have a 24-hour store. My 3 to 11 shift calls me and says, the overnight guy called out. Do you want me to stay here, or are you going to send somebody in? Now, there's two ways to go about this. First is the lazy way. I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to find somebody to cover for you, and if I can't find anybody to cover for you, I need you to cover the shift. Let me tell you something. When I worked management, somebody told one of my, because if somebody said that to a cashier in one of the stores that I was operating, that manager's gone. No, tell the manager. That manager. Now, if she said, I'm going to try to find somebody, and if I can't, I'm coming in. That is the correct response. I can handle that. If you want to try to, I get it. You're going to try to find somebody first, see if somebody's available, somebody wants. But still, here's the thing. And most managers won't accept this. I did accept this. I had to fire somebody, and I had to carry the weight of it because I caused it. I had somebody call out on an overnight shift. I did not go in. I sent somebody else into that store. That night, that store got robbed. They had a shotgun held in their face. Every single mistake that cashier made that night, I own. Because I knew they were tired when I sent them in there. They said, yeah, I could do it. I've been up all day, but I can do it. I sent that person into that store tired. If I was in there, I would have been tired. I was up all day too. I had to go in to do the morning shift though. That was the thing. I got to go in and I got to do all the opening paperwork. Even though it's a 24-hour store, you still have an opening and closing process for the day. I own the fact that that individual is now scared to death every time they see a gun. I did that to that person. I'm the one that fucked that person up because I sent them in that store. Granted, they did choose to go in there. They own some of this. That's right. There's some people, you're going to say, well, personal responsibility. That's what we're talking about, is personal responsibility. They did. They chose to go in that store. And absolutely right. I chose to put them in that store. I chose to put somebody that I knew was not 100% fit to be doing what I was asking him to do in that situation. I own what happened to that individual. I own it. That's leadership. And I had to live with that for years. And it changed the way I thought about everything I did in a store. And it changed the way I thought about every decision I made when someone called me with a problem. Because I understood whatever solution I came up with, that was my solution. I'm the captain of that ship. I own that solution. And I own all the ramifications of anything that goes wrong because of that solution. That's leadership. And that's the philosophy P.D. Gone Mad Arts runs on. That's the philosophy this whole business is going to be built around. I don't want employees. I honestly don't want employees because this is my business. And I want to be able to make decisions that only affect me, not people around me. I don't want to, like, for example, let's say I decided to start doing where now I get professional photographers that are working with PD Gone Mad Arts, and we're going out and we're doing events for people. Someone calls up and says, yeah, I need a photographer here from 9 a.m. till noon. I tell my photographer, I need you to be there from 8 a.m. till 1 o'clock. They make plans for their afternoon because they're only supposed to be there till noon, so I'm making them plan an extra hour to be there. This way for wrap up and everything, and they're there an extra hour early to open up, get everything started, talk to the individuals, introduce themselves to everybody. It's proper planning. What happens if something goes on in the event and now they're like, oh, I need your photographer to stay here for 5 hours. And I already know that my photographer has an appointment to go and close on their house. They're about to close on $1 million home, and they got to go close on that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And these people want me to leave them. Now I'm stuck in a position where I can't get to where that photographer is. The photographer's too far away for anybody else to get to it. So now I have to make a decision. Who am I going to let down? Most people are going to let down their employee and tell their employee that they're home. That's your problem, not mine. You're working. No, I'm going to tell the customer, I'm sorry, I can't get anybody down there to you. We planned this around the hours that you requested. We put extra time in the beginning. We put extra time in the front. We did everything we could to make sure that we accommodate you to the request that you sent us. And I cannot fix this request now. Well, the photographer's already here. Yes, the photographer is there, but he has an hour and a half drive home, and he's got to sign on a multi-million-dollar home. Oh, well, what's the big deal? Why can't you just change the? Are you going to change the signing of your home till tomorrow? Are you going to just call up and say, oh, no, I don't want to move into my multi-million-dollar mansion tonight. Just make it till next week. Are you going to really do that? I'm going to be more polite when I'm talking about it that way with the customer, but that is what the essence is going to come down to. And I'm going to let them know I'm not doing that to somebody that's investing in my business. They're investing their time in my business for a paycheck. Time is the most valuable asset any single one person has. Nobody has an asset more valuable than time. I don't care. You could be the richest man on the planet. You have nothing more valuable than time. There is nothing in your possession more valuable than time. And the fact that you have people volunteering their time, they're giving their time to you because they want to invest in your vision. Because those are the kind of people you really want working for. You want people that are investing in your vision, because that's where loyalty comes from. Because then when they see your vision and they believe in that vision, they're going to invest in you and they're going to stand by you and they're going to be loyal. Some people are investing temporarily, but you want them to be seeing your vision. Because then they're going to give you 100%. They're going to give you everything they got. If someone comes to you and they're like, I need a job, I can do this, and they're just, nothing about what you're doing inspires them, it's going to be a really bad employee. Because let's be honest, they're nothing but an employee. They become an asset. And assets have both pros and cons. And they tend to pretty much be a level. They're pretty leveled out when you got an asset like that. Their cons and their pros, they're right there. Now, when you have somebody who's investing in you, their cons shift and their pros shift. When you have somebody who is coming to learn from you, and there could be things there, I don't know, but there's other ways that it can go this way, where all of a sudden the cons are increasing and the pros are shortening. But that one where you're just going to look at them as nothing more than an asset, they're the ones that fall in that middle ground. And generally, those are the worst. Those and anything beyond that are your worst employees you can get. And people use algorithms to try to find their best employees. You know who your best employee is going to be? You go and you interview your employee, and then you're done, and you're like, you have any questions for me? And they start interviewing you. I interview people. The last company I worked for, I interviewed them for 30 minutes before I agreed that, okay, yeah, I'll take the plane, I'll accept the plane ticket, I'll come up and I'll talk to you. I interviewed them for 30 minutes before I agreed to even go up and talk to them in person. And then I stayed with them all the way up until my career got wrecked because of a computer glitch. We still try to solve that. That's why I don't have a license, a computer glitch. As far as we can tell. It's really what it seems to be. There's a possibility that there's actually some legitimate reason to this, but still, that all got lost in the framework of bureaucracy somewhere. This is really just, even still, if that's what it was, it still comes down to the same, it's a glitch. Because I was working. I'm in Florida. Do you honestly think, okay, yeah, I can see that. I could see some bureaucrat in Florida, even in Florida, telling me, well, you shouldn't have been working. You should have been home. You would have got the letter. Not every bureaucrat in Florida is a conservative. But there are people out there that they will tell me that. They'll be like, well, it's your fault you didn't get the letter. You should not have been working. They're not going to use those words, but that is what they are telling me. I should not have been working. Or I should not have been working so hard. You shouldn't have been chasing a dream. Like now, I work all day long in a tree service business. And it's hard work. And then I come home and I spend hours writing computer programs and working on computer programs and working on my PD Got Mad Arts and writing stories and working on photography. And I've even, while doing all of this, I've even gone to online college courses, and I'm now an MSU graduate for photography. Online college courses while working as a tree service, rebuilding my business, writing stories, creating art, taking photography, and still going out and living a life. Because I still go out and do things on my own. Go out, ride the four-wheeler from time to time, go out, go fishing. Sometimes I don't go fishing. Sometimes I go out in the boat with my camera. Sometimes I go out in the boat with my camera and my fishing gear. Sometimes I go with just the fishing gear, because I don't want to be I want to just put everything else on the side, all of that on the side, and I just want to leave the creativity. And even then, my brain is still always spinning, creating, or working on, just thinking, running through especially the universe. Think about that a lot. Time. Think about that a lot. It's very hard for me to get my brain to relax. I'm always multitasking in my head, even when I'm at work. Even when I'm at work, I'm sitting there and I'm running through my head. Okay, what can we do with this? How can I fix Fanny? What will make Stefan work better? How? And then I came up with the idea of how to make them all flow. And the final version of my authors, when it's completely done and everything's in there, it's amazing. It's gonna flow, and it's, when you're on a different page, it's amazing what I'm building. And I can't believe I'm building it, because I have not written computer programs since PC World magazine was still pretty much a new magazine. I was typing programs out of PC World magazine for a VIC 20, which they were still writing programs for the VIC 20 in PC World magazine. They had programs for the VIC 20. They had programs for the Commodore 64. They had programs for IBM. They had programs for all these different, but it was specific because all the languages were different. I used to know all these different languages. I don't know the first thing about C++. That's the most I know about C++. I know what it's called. That is the most I know about C++. And I am building programs that run on Windows. These are Windows-based programs that I'm building. I'm building them so that you can download them on your computer and work with them offline on Windows. Spark. They won't work with Claude, so some of the features are going to turn off automatically. Anything where you need it working online in the background for Claude to be thinking, if you're offline, they're just not going to be able to operate. But when you get back online, you can take and still use those tools. Like say say you're just typing. You want to just type. You can type in any of them. You can type in Stefan, you can type in Fanny, you can type in Spark. You can type in Claude, Cousin Claude. All of them, you can type your story. All of them, you can paste your story. All of them, you can upload your story. All of them. Every single piece of this, you can do that basic function. You don't have to dance around and go, that, like all these other. There's programs out there that will cost you $100 a year. And they're not as smooth as what I did. They're not as complete as what I did. Like I said, they'll have where you're on this program, and because you want to use the other program, so now you have to go to the other program, you have to upload you have to do everything right there. You can tell Stefan, send this over to Fanny. And when you go open up Fanny, it's already there. And then you hit read aloud, and Fanny starts reading it to you. It's already done. And then you can say, yes, okay, this is all done. Send this back to manuscript. And then when it goes into manuscript, you can tell it to whatever design you want to use. Let's say it was a short story, and maybe it's only 3 paragraphs long, and you just want to brainstorm with it. You can go, you put it into the manuscript program or Cousin Claude, whichever one you want, and you can use the system. Cousin Claude's the best way to do this with the rewrite, and you tell it, completely rewrite this, brainstorm, and then it will come up with ideas based on that story, and it'll give you and you can even tell it to give you different versions. You say, give me 3, 4, 5 versions. How many and then you can start and then you might see like, oh yeah, I like that. And then you're gonna read it. Oh yeah, I like, and then you create it. AI as an assistant is amazing. If you're using it as an assistant, what you are going to create, people are going to want. People who are interested in literature, people who are interested in art, people who are interested in music. As long as you are actually creating it and using AI as an assistant, you can do things that will amaze the world. You could be a mediocre band. You could be a band that you barely get people to come to the local bar in your local town to come watch you. Maybe you're good. This is the thing. You got to play good. You got to have a good vocal. Maybe all that's fine, but your songwriting is horrible. Your songwriting is just horrible. But you have really good licks and you have really good catches and you have really good lines in your song. That's where working with an AI assistant, because that AI assistant going to say, oh, this is horrible with your song here. And you can use it as a thesaurus. And using it as a thesaurus, it's going to say, well, this is what you gave me. This is what I think you should do. And you can even say, well, give me multiple options on this. What different ways would you do this? And then you can upload your sheet music. Or if you're like me and you write in Tab, I write my music in Tab. I can't write sheet music. I do know how to read sheet music and all that. It's just been so long since I've done it. And even ironically, when I started playing guitar, it was still so long since I had last read sheet music that I just wound up reading Tab, and I've never relearned sheet music. It's like getting on a bike, they say, but I just haven't done it. I like Tab. I like tablature for music. It's easy. It's fast. That's what it is. It's fast. Writing sheet music takes time. Tablature is really quick. It's like using Python over C++. For those of you that you're in computer code and don't understand music, that's the difference. It's like using Python instead of C++. Tablature is the Python of music. But I lost my train of thought. I got distracted describing that analogy. But yeah, this is PD Got Mad Arts. I'm Peter Sisco. This is the lab where everything happens. And this is the mind behind it. And I hope you'll be part of this journey. Thank you. If you've watched this all the way through, please, thank you. Be sure to visit PD Got Mad Arts. Venture around. Think of walking through the Met. This is the Met in its infancy right now. This is what it would have been like walking through the Met in its opening days. And it grew, and it got bigger, and it got bigger. For those of you who don't know what the Met is the New York Metropolitan Museum. New York Metropolitan Museum of Fine Art. Is that the full? I don't remember what the full name of it is, but yeah, the New York Metropolitan Museum. That's the Met. I've always called it the Met. That's why the full name is dancing away from me. But that's what PD Got Mad Arts is. And my shop is just a gift shop in there. But you're not required to visit my gift shop. I appreciate you visiting my gift. Even if you just visit it and you're clicking around in there, that actually helps the algorithms because, like I said, even though I'm not collecting any of your information, unfortunately right now, because of the way this is built, I have to use systems where they unfortunately do collect some of your data. I'm not accessing any of that. I think some of it, because that's what Claude keeps telling me, there is a possibility because we're trying to work on our tier, and he keeps telling me that there's something we can do with Fourth Wall. And I don't want to do it because I don't want your personal information. That's a violation of our trust. I don't want it. That is an absolute violation of the philosophy that this, because my philosophy is the product. My philosophy is so radically different from what all the tech companies are doing, despite what they promised you. I'm actually fulfilling the promise that Bill Gates promised 30 years ago and refuses to fulfill today. I am fulfilling that promise that Bill Gates refuses to fulfill. I am fulfilling the promise that Steve Jobs is not around any longer to be able to fulfill. They promised us an internet where you would be a guest, not a product. And to this day, you are a product, not a guest. And today, you have just been introduced to the product that you have been promised from the birth of the internet. You've been promised. It's here. I'm building it. PD Got Mad Arts. This is the future of commerce. My business model is the future, because with AI and AGI, the world of economics is going to radically change. And everything you think you know, just throw it all out. Throw it all away. The world is going to change real fast and real radically. And PD Got Mad Arts, we're leading. We're on the forefront of this. I see what's coming. And there's a lot of people going to say, oh, no, he's dumb. He don't know what he's talking about. He just, No. I know what's coming. And there's people in the corporate world that they know what's coming, and they're doing everything they can to distract you from seeing this coming. And unfortunately, they're doing a good job at it, because they're convincing very smart people that this is not coming. Very, very smart people. People who are smarter than me. People who, if I walk into an auditorium, I'd still be the dumbest individual in that room. And they are being convinced by the corporations that I am wrong. So, yeah, the world is changing. And I believe in what I see coming. And I am preparing for it. And if I am right, and I am nearly 100% sure I am right, with using the tools that I bring with me from the corporate world, and watching what's all going on, and understanding how the mechanism inside the corporate world actually works, which is what most people don't understand. They don't understand the mechanism inside it, even business people. If you run a small business, what you do inside your small business, even if you're using things that are from the corporation, you're still not fully understanding the whole mechanism that is inside the corporate world. You do not understand how much failure for society is built into the corporate mechanism, because it needs failure. Without failure, the corporate model can't succeed, because it runs out. It's going to stall. It needs failure to keep innovation going. Doesn't want innovation for innovation. It wants to create failure so that it can start working on the innovation ahead of time and say, oh yeah, we're going to fix that. And then make it look like they all did this great job fixing this, because they all of a sudden, this big major problem, and they fix it in a matter of days. They've been working on it for years. They built that problem in because they knew that problem was going to come. And rather than fixing the problem the right way in the beginning, they decided, well, we're going to pillage our customers for everything they're worth while we're exploiting this problem. And then when the problem finally becomes a big enough problem that we got to address it, we're going to tell everybody we're going to fix this, and we're on top of it, and we are going to do everything we can, because this is such a major world-changing problem. It is so horrible, and nobody saw this coming. We never in a million years imagined that this could ever be happening. Meanwhile, we've been actually, they're letting the investors know, don't worry, man, we've been working on this for 5 years now, man. We got this solved. We've actually already got the next 3 problems figured out, man. We're just going to let them sit on it for a month. We need people to think that this is a crisis. And when we're done and we launch this and everybody sees how our stock, everything, we need to plummet 25%, because when we make the fix, we're going to gain back that 25%, and everybody's going to be so astonished by what we did. They're going to think that we did this in a month. Even though we've been sitting on this problem for 5 years now and we've had it solved, they're going to think we solved this in a month. And our skyrocket right through the roof, our stock. That's how the corporation works. That's the Microsoft model. That's the model that corporations use. I call it the Microsoft model. Make sure it's broken so that we have an excuse to fix it. That's the way Microsoft used to feel. I like Microsoft, but that's the way Microsoft used to feel. And that's why I call it the Microsoft problem, because it always felt that way. I remember Windows 98. It was a horrible, horrible, horrible experience. Windows XP I loved. Windows 98 was a horror. And then, actually, not 98. 98 was a bad experience. The other one, the one between 98, because that's what XP fixed everything. But that's what I mean. They made it look like all of a sudden, oh yeah, we're going to fix it. They launched that. I can't even remember the name of that Windows that came out between the two because it was that bad. But it was so horrible. But then it seemed like in a month, all of a sudden, bang, here's XP. Because they were like, oh yeah, we're going to fix this for you. We're going to take care of this for you, and da-da-da-da-da. And they made it look like everybody was so smart. And it was a really good marketing gimmick. But they did. That's how that worked in the background. They're going to deny it. They even have everything. And I can't ever prove 100%. So, I have to say, this is my opinion. But I believe it 100% in my heart because I've been inside the corporate machine and I've seen how inside the corporate machine, that is the mentality and that is the way things work. Not every single thing inside the corporate machine is that way, but that is the overall operation. That is how it works. And it's a fraud. It's a fake. There's nothing genuine about any of it. PD Got Mad Arts, this is all genuine. I just gotta go right now and look and see, get some things sorted out, but everything, as I'm building it, you're seeing it. Like I said, that cookie, that's the name of my photo thing. It's so new, I had to think about the name. I've been thinking, I haven't mentioned the name yet because I forgot the name. It's so new that I still haven't even been thinking about it. I just remembered the name. I named it after Cookie. Where is Cookie? She was here. Cookie. Anyway, she was here. The little chihuahua. It's named after her. Even the color scheme. When you look at her and you look at the color schemes, you can kind of see. It's influenced by Cookie. But V1. I still have not touched anything else on it. That is V1. I have not gone in and tweaked anything yet. I have not gone in and seen what is working, what's not working yet. I actually released this to you so you can see it in process. And as I fix it, we update it. And I might not even overwrite all the old ones. I might leave the old ones there so you can still see this and you can experience this with us. It'll be V1, V2, so on and so forth. And that would be the way it is with future programs and models. The reason it's not that way with the author's universe is because the author's universe, I still did not understand that I was actually finally building my business. I've been I started to get PD Got Mad Arts off the ground, and then my whole world got turned upside down, and so it got completely shut down because I had to let it go. I had to shut it completely down because I had priorities. It was a really, when the state accidentally revokes your license, it's a major issue, especially when you're driving an 18-wheeler across Ohio, and that's when you find out. I mean, you're looking at prison time. It was a bad situation. Major prison time because you're an 18-wheeler, no less. Thank God I was empty. Man, if I had hazmat, I'd be in Guantanamo Bay right now. It was a bad situation. It was really that bad. People, they underestimate when they think about what happened to me in that situation. They really do not understand the severity of what happened. I would have never had anything again in my life if that went the way that it could have went very, 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 very easily. If I was thank the police officers that I was dealing with, the on-duty sergeant They were all so professional because they all said the same thing. We're reading this report, but there's no warrants for you, but we're reading this report. And you should have multiple warrants out for you right now, but there's no warrants for you. So it's obvious it's a good, because the way the coding transferred over to them, the translation and coding, I had multiple felonies and I should have all kinds of and that's why they understood that it was a computer glitch, because they're like, there's no way this report could be here saying this is what's going on and there's not a felony warrant. Not one. There should be multiple felony warrants. I mean, we're talking about fleeing the scene of an accident with multiple injuries, and basically, the damage to it surpassed the minimal threshold, so that it was multiple. Thank God I was able to prove I was not here in Florida when the accident took place. My ex-wife, she helped me, ironically. She accused me of being here in Florida stalking her, and I was able to prove with my logs that I wasn't here in Florida stalking her. But because of that accusation, from that moment forward, I always had my Google Maps on. So my Google Maps follow my phone. Wherever my phone is, that's where I am. It's very rare that me and my phone are not together. So Google Maps in my logs were able to prove that I was nowhere near Florida when this happened. I was in California. Actually, I might have even been up in Washington State. I think I was in Washington State. I think I was in Seattle when this happened. So, I mean, talk about being completely on the opposite side of the country. I was as far on the continental opposite side as you could possibly get. I was up there. Pretty sure it was Seattle. I might have even been coming back from Seattle when that happened, so I could have been crossing Minnesota or something. But that's where I was. I was up in there. Nowhere. So, But that's what happened to PD Got Mad Arts, just as it was starting to grow some legs and starting to get some traction, and people were actually starting to pay attention to the things I was doing. And then it all just went away. And I had to let it all go away, because I had much, much bigger priorities than business. I had to worry about my life. That's where the concept comes from, more than my tagline, more than just art. This is life. Because I had to put it all on the side. And from that point forward, there's always a little bit of that influence in everything I do. There's a little bit of that influence in the artwork. There's a little bit of that influence in the writing. All of that has influenced everything I do with any kind of arts. And anything in your life, it will always influence anything you do with the arts. That's why it's more than just art. It is life. Art is life. Art is the reflection of a moment in someone's life. It might not be a complete picture, but there is a reflection of that moment in that person's life in that art. That's what true art represents. It's a moment. It's a moment in their reflection. And that's what PD Got Mad Arts is. And that's what we're building. I am building the online version of the Met. Like I said, I am a capitalist. There is a store there. I am trying to make money. But I do not want you coming into my store, into my website, thinking you need to go to my store. I invite you to go to the store. I invite you to come and visit freely. I invite you to not spend $1. I invite you to just come in, walk around, never even say a word to me. Don't even let me know you were there. I invite you to do all that because you are a guest, not a dollar sign. That is the whole philosophy of PD Got Mad Arts. And that is the whole philosophy that PD Got Mad Arts will always run on. And when it comes time where I'm too old to run this, it's going to be in my business manifesto. It's going to be in the laws of the business. This business can never be incorporated. This business can never be sold to a corporation. This business can never be made a corporation. This business can never run on the rules of the corporation model. This business will always run on the model. You. In you. In you. I see you back there. Hello. All of you. You are my guest. You will never be a dollar sign.